Good morning, good-looking people, and you're good-looking because you're always looking, and of course, you are finding the good in everything and in everybody. Hope you're well. Hope you had a nice weekend. Today is the 19th of Shevat. Today we're focusing on really the concept of knowing Hashem. What does that mean, knowing Hashem? I know Hashem, but there's also knowing Hashem. So that's what we're focusing on today. Let's start with a story and then go to the Hayom Yom, and then we'll go to some notes on the day and then the final message. So, Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, he's coming home from Mezrich. He had just studied by the feet of the Maggid of Mezrich, and he walks in the front door, and who's there to greet him? His father-in-law. And his father-in-law asks him, "Nu, what did you learn by the Maggid? How did it go?" So Reb Levi of Yitzchak responds that I learned that Hashem exists. So his father-in-law looks at him, and he says, "You learned that Hashem exists? Even the Gentile maid knows that Hashem exists." And Reb Levi Yitzchak responded, "She may say he exists, but I know he exists." And his father-in-law looks at him and says, "What do you mean?" So Reb Levi Yitzchak said as follows: every Jew has the inner Pintaliyah, that piece of God inside of us that we all know, and we know that God exists, and we are knowledgeable that God exists, and we always say thank God, and we always acknowledge God. But to really know that God exists, it's a completely different exercise. So for example, people always pray to God. Even like it says in the Medrash that a thief, before he even goes to burglarize or steal or whatever he's going to do, he prays to God for success. It's a paradox. First of all, he's about to break the law and break the commandments. At the same time, he's praying to God and saying, "Please make me successful." So here's a situation where he knows there's a God and he's praying to it, but does he really know God? Because if he really knew God, would he break the law and go ahead and steal? And that's the concept of today. When you really know God, and we really know God deep inside, then we also operate to the knowledge of God. That means all our actions and our daily activities coincide and correlate with this knowledge of God. So let's read the Hayom Yom of the day. We're focusing on two different psukim. One is says, know the God of your father and love him wholeheartedly, which is one pasuk, and it comes from Divrei Hayamim. And the other pasuk that we're focusing on is know this day, and Hashem is the Lord, which comes from the Chumash of Devarim. Let's read inside. We'll go to some notes. There's a nice gematria, and then we'll go to the message of the day. So for the 19th of Shvat, the first commandment is according to the words of the Rambam. And by the way, just a side note here, why it's bringing up the Rambam as well, is tomorrow will be the Shloshim, will be 30 days from the passing of the Rambam, which was Chaf Teves. So another just reference to the Rambam for the day. So it says in the wording, to know that there's a primary being who brings into being all the existence, knowing that this concept fulfills a positive commandment, as it is written, I am Hashem, your Lord. So what's being brought up is the first commandment, which is to know that there's Hashem. This mitzvah centers on the brain and the mind. Although every Jew believes in God with a simple faith, and his heart is wholly and artistly with Hashem, the brain and mind are obligated to bring this faith to the point of knowledge and comprehension. So what's being said is that it's even further. It's just not knowing that there's Hashem. It's about a comprehension. It's about digesting it. Like we said yesterday in our Hayom Yom, about making it a part of you, that you know and you comprehend that there is a God. And this is what is meant by the obligation to know that there is a primary being. One must know this in the terms of comprehension and understanding. As it is written, know the Hashem of your father and serve him wholeheartedly. It is likewise written, and you shall know this day that Hashem is the Lord. So going back to what we're talking about today, it's all the concept of knowing and comprehending that today we know that there is Hashem and that our activities and our conduct act the same way as us understanding and knowing Hashem. Now, just a quick note that this is also being brought up today because this is Parshas Yisro. It is the Parsha of the Ten Commandments. And again, this is a mitzvah of the first of the Ten Commandments of knowing Hashem. I am Hashem. So this is also being brought up today. And now, a nice little gematria. The concept of today has been about knowledge and comprehension. The words used on the Hebrew text is hamayach. Hamayach refers to the brain. If you take the gematria of hamayach, hey, mem, vav, ches, that is 49. And today marks 49 days since the beginning of the Luach calendar, which was Yud Tes Kislev. Message of the day. Very simple. We need to really focus on knowing God. And what that means is we may not really understand it yet. We have to work on it. And the only way to get there is through meditation and davening and learning and chassidus and doing all that. But what we can do on the most simple level, learning from the Rebbe Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev story, is make sure our actions are in line with knowing God. That, hey, if I'm going to do this and I know God, do those work together? And that is the message of the day. Have a wonderful week, have a successful week, and have a week and a year and a lifetime of really knowing God. All the best.